Why is the new buyer-broker agreement, also known as a buyer-agent contract, a game changer? It's because it protects you. Hey guys, Cameron Stewart here with the Homes by Cameron Stewart Real Estate Team powered by eXp Realty. August of 2024 brought serious changes to the National Association of Realtors, which brought changes here in New York State and all across the country for more transparency behind compensation and commissions regarding who, whether the seller or the buyer, is paying commissions, and more importantly, how much those commissions are. This is an absolute game changer because it does help protect you. Whether you are a buyer or whether you are the seller, this is helping protect you by providing more transparency. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about how the new buyer-broker agreement protects you. So let's start with some past misunderstandings regarding buyers and buyers agents. So historically, relationships between buyers and buyers agents have been informal. Unfortunately, these informal relationships can and sometimes have led to misunderstandings, which sometimes cost money. Some of these key misunderstandings in the past include unclear representation. In the past, sometimes it was unclear as to who the buyer's agent is actually representing. In that situation, might not actually be a buyer's agent. You can have two agents, one who's clearly defined as the listing agent, and one who's not defined as a buyer's agent but is helping the buyer, whether the buyer be unrepresented or whatnot. In situations like that, which are not very common these days, the agent that was actually working for the buyer would actually owe fiduciary responsibilities to the seller. Okay. In these situations, the buyer may believe they have an agent who's working for them, and they really don't. That is not the case anymore, and the new buyer broker agreement, which is mandatory, can and will help clarify issues of misrepresentation in the future. Hidden costs. Now that there's more emphasis than ever on commission structures and who's paying the commission and how much, it's very important that we understand how that is structured. Before the new buyer broker agreement, there was a lot of misinterpretation and misunderstanding as to who was paying commissions, how much the commissions were, and ultimately how much the buyer's agent was going to be compensated and by whom. Undefined expectations was also a big issue. Without a buyer-broker agreement, buyers were unsure of what they can expect from their agents. Were they providing comparative market analyses? Were they helping open doors and show homes? Were they just expecting their clients to go to open houses if they were available? Helping define the expectations of your agent will help going forward. And lastly, misaligned incentives. Generally speaking, these incentives are financial. All right. So no longer will you have to worry whether or not your agent is suggesting a higher price home so they can earn more money. Their compensation is going to be clearly defined going forward. Let's shift our focus to how the buyer-broker agreement ensures clear communication, fair compensation, and mutual understanding. The buyer-broker agreement is intended to formalize a relationship between the buyer and the buyer's agent, therefore addressing some historical concerns regarding agency and how that agent is working for that buyer. And here's how it does that. Clear communication is number one. The agreement will explicitly outline the scope of work that the agent is going to provide the buyer. It's also going to provide a clear, concise understanding for the buyer as to how their agent is going to be compensated when they do business together. Fair compensation. Most of the time, buyers are going to agree to buyer's agent representation with a buyer's agent who's going to write the commissions into the offer, meaning the seller is ultimately going to pay for those commissions. But it's important to understand the aspects of that so you can negotiate for yourself as a buyer fairly. And finally, mutual understanding. A lot of times you work with an agent and you don't quite understand all of the aspects of what they're going to provide you. You go under contract and then they have 45 to 60 days sometimes before you're closing. What is your agent doing to help you during that time frame? Well, now you're able to clearly outline those objectives with your agent beforehand. The buyer's agent agreement also has several protections for the buyer. Let's review them now. Preventing unexpected costs is the first. Commissions are now clearly outlined, who's paying what and how much, whether it be a percentage or a flat fee. So now you can rest assured as a buyer that you will not have any unexpected costs arise from commissions, at least. Defining clear expectations is the next. A buyer-broker agreement is going to establish fiduciary responsibilities from the buyer's agent to the buyer. This will help provide clear expectations not only during the home search, but the closing process as well. Termination of the agreement. This is very important for buyers to understand. You can terminate a buyer's agent agreement There are some protections in there for the buyer's agent in the event the buyer's agent shows you several houses, writes an offer for you, you wind up closing and decide not to pay them. There are some protections for the buyer's agent as well. So understanding how to terminate the agreement is important before you enter into one. And finally, ensuring representation. The buyer broker agreement is going to ensure that you have proper representation as a buyer and that the buyer's agent is not working for the seller and is in fact working for you. The buyer broker agreement is also going to be pivotal in helping improve the overall buyer experience. Number one, it's going to help build trust. When your agent agrees to certain services outlined in their buyer broker agreement and they deliver on those services, it's going to help build a level of trust with the buyer. And believe me, that trust will help during a 60-day closing process here in New York. It's also going to help streamline the process. No longer are you trying to figure out what's provided to you or what the cost of things are revolving around commissions. You know ahead of time. So it's going to help streamline the process and help you close on deals hopefully quicker. Reducing stress is important as well. Stress lives in the unknown. When we know things, we can generally be a little bit more relieved and lose a little bit less sleep at night. It's also going to help promote informed decision making. You are going to make better decisions when you're informed. I don't know any other way to put it than that. With a better understanding of the agent's duties and responsibilities that they owe to you, you're going to be better equipped to help navigate the process of buying or selling real estate. The buyer broker agreement helps protect buyers and sellers alike by providing more transparency. No longer are you going to question what the commissions are or who's paying them. If you have any further questions about a buyer broker agreement, feel free to give me a call directly at 315-351-2765. Please stay tuned. This is a multi-part series, about 12 parts regarding the buyer broker agreement and how it affects our industry, not just here in the Rome, New York area, but all across the country. Please smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with your friends. My name is Cameron Stewart with the Homes by Cameron Stewart Real Estate Team, powered by eXp Realty.